A game's soundtrack can easily make or break the game. When it's good, it can multiply the game's strengths and make the experience unforgettable. When it's bad, the game can fall flat, or even make you want to stop playing in some cases. Today, I want to talk about a game soundtrack that was the start to one of my favorite franchises, which would eventually get me interested in music in the first place. This is the Kirby's Dream Land soundtrack review. The composer for Kirby's Dream Land was a man by the name of Jun Ishikawa. As a sound designer at HAL Laboratories, he had previously worked on music for games such as The Adventures of Lolo 3 and Uchu Kaibitai SDF for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Back in the days of the NES and Game Boy, composers were very limited in the way they could compose their songs. These Nintendo systems only had around 4 individual sound channels each, and with one noise-only channel dedicated to percussion, there were only 3 possible notes that could be played at any given time. With these harsh limitations, was Ishikawa able to create a soundtrack that would stand the test of time? Obviously, yeah, of course he was. Let's take a dive into the Kirby's Dream Land soundtrack and see what makes it so special. The game opens with a short, catchy, happy tune, and it sets the stage not only for the game that lies ahead, but also for the soundtrack as a whole. The melody starts out upbeat and jaunty, while the second half uses long, drawn-out notes with a more active note pattern underneath. Lots of staccato, or short, sharp notes are used to drive the rhythm forward, with momentum being passed between different sound channels as the song needs. With the Game Boy only having 4 sound channels total, every track is working full time to keep the momentum going. These fast-moving notes have gone on to become Kirby soundtrack staples, even when sound hardware was no longer a limitation. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. We're still on the first song in the first game. For this first song, I'd give it a rating of 9 out of 10. While short, this song gives a great first impression, with a sampling of what's to come and a memorable and catchy melody. Green Greens, the song that put Kirby on the map, and for a good reason. This song is the embodiment of joy. The beginning of the song dances around the major key, making huge leaps while not spiraling out of control. The song doesn't stay confined to just happy chords though. The B section of the melody slows things down, and borrows a note from the minor key, which gives the song a driving and inspirational force. This is peak Kirby music, sounding simple on a first listen, but getting better and better as you listen to it more and notice the little things. This is an easy 10 out of 10. The addictive nature of the song means it's among the first songs that pop into your head when you hear the words Kirby music. Castle Lololo offers a much-needed change of pace from the beginning of the soundtrack. When scoring a game, movie, or anything else, it's important to let the feelings of the music evolve with the experience. As the player moves out of the tutorial level and into a harsher environment, the music also starts to ramp up. Instead of just one melody line, there are now 2 sound channels which play a harmony together, and this matches the increasing complexity of navigating the castle. Yet, the fast beat is still present, and there's still a sense of playfulness that makes you remember what game you're playing. I'd give Castle Lololo a 9 out of 10. It pushes the soundtrack to be more than just happy, and rounds out the overall sound when giving the game a full playthrough. Float Islands keeps the beat going. While it's a good amount slower than the last few songs, it's got a consistent snare and a bass line that won't let up. In an interesting change of pace, the melody is super long form. with drawn-out notes in the first half and noticeable breaks in the second. It's a feel-good track, and a break from the high-octane energy that came before it. I would give Float Islands an 8 out of 10. It does well to stand out from the other stage themes with its fresh bass line and well-paced groove. Bubbly Clouds gives us our first and only 3/4 time signature, fitting for a waltz in the clouds. Our melody line gets a frosty, high-pitched harmony and has volume effects that are reminiscent of violins. The bass line feels a bit more deliberate in this song by leaving some pauses and not playing every beat. The song puts you into a trance as you focus on playing the hardest traditional level in the game. It may not be the most fitting for the gameplay, but it absolutely fits the cloudy location it plays in. Bubbly Clouds gets a great 9 out of 10. Time for a quick, rapid-fire report on the jingles that aren't quite long enough to be full songs, but are musical enough to be more than just sound effects. Let's go! Short, catchy, and flows right back into the game. Thumbs up. Bittersweet, but not too slow as to kill all the energy. Thumbs up. Positive sounding, but the notes are too shrill to make this an enjoyable listen. Thumbs down. This jig is iconic for a reason. It's memorable and jolly. Perfect for the nature of the game. Thumbs up. And now, back to the review proper. Taking full advantage of the Game Boy's ability to play notes faster than humanly possible, the boss theme is probably the game's most chaotic song. It works for the craziness of a boss fight, and I dig how the percussion takes center stage. While not the most memorable, the boss theme has a cool, distinct sound that sets it apart from the rest of the game. Worthy of a solid 8 out of 10 rating. Not much to say about this one. It's a great track for where it plays in the game, but I wouldn't want to listen to this for much longer than the 15 seconds it usually plays for. The sounds are a bit harsh and piercing compared to most of the other songs, which future iterations of the Invincibility theme would fix. I'd give this song a 6 out of 10. This song is cool. With a proper groove in the bass line and a simple beat, this song doesn't overcomplicate things. And I won't either. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. While short, it works great in the game as a temporary power-up song and is pleasing on the ears. This song gives off some serious waiting room vibes, one where you're stuck and forced to listen to the same song on the radio over and over. I mean, it's a decently put together song, but it's only 6 seconds long. It gets in your head and gets on your nerves quickly if you let it. 4 out of 10. This song would go on to become bigger and better in future games, but in Kirby's Dream Land, be glad you don't have to wait here any longer than you have to. This song not only kicks off the last level of the game, but also the fight with King Dedede himself. It means business when it opens up with that low, solid note. While the percussion is similar to the normal boss theme, the melody is given more freedom to be an actual melody, one that would go on to become one of the most iconic in the series, with the key words being "go on to." Compared to some of the other songs in this soundtrack, the melody is short, and the quick harmony notes beneath it are drowned out by the loud percussion. For the song in this state, I'd have to give it a 7 out of 10. It'll go on to become a great song, but it needs some more time in the oven. awesome! The melody does the heavy lifting for this song, with triumphant energy and unmatched optimism. The melody knows how good it is, and it even borrows the other sound channels as it likes to take part in some really cool harmonies towards the end of the song. This ending isn't a somber one, but a celebration of everything that's happened so far. The way it encapsulates the energy from the game and gives it one last hurrah makes it easy for me to give this song a 10 out of 10. It may be the end of the Kirby's Dream Land soundtrack, but it's the start of something even greater. After breaking down all of these songs, how does the soundtrack as a whole fare? Well, calculating the average using the score for every song gives us an 8 out of 10. But that doesn't paint the full picture. After all, some songs are long and others are shorter. To get a true rating, I'm going to be finding the weighted average, which takes the length of each song into account. This means that songs that are shorter and less heard are given less influence on the overall score than the longer songs, which are listened to for longer periods of time. This new method gives the soundtrack an average score of 8.67 out of 10, which is in solid B+ territory. Not bad for a new series starting out on the Game Boy of all places. Jun Ishikawa really hit it out of the park with this one. Not only did he make a home run Game Boy soundtrack on his first try, but he created the musical DNA of Kirby games for years to come. The soundtrack isn't without its flaws. Some songs come really close to being grating on the ears, and certain tracks feel underdeveloped compared to others. Luckily, every song here would eventually be given a remix or remake, so it could shine without worrying about hardware limitations. This original soundtrack still has some spectacular songs though. The Kirby series would luckily continue, and go on to have imaginative and inspiring soundtracks, and we have the Kirby's Dream Land soundtrack to thank for starting it all.